Hello and welcome to your Daily Detroit. It is Monday, February 21st, 2022. And, well, with the breaking news that's happening, Fletcher Sharpe is with us a little bit early. How are you, Fletcher?
It's getting a little bit warmer, so I'm happy. Maybe the groundhog did die, but maybe he had some good intentions before he passed away. So,
well, I will say that there was some really fun stuff that happened last week. We'll talk about it at the end of the show. But first, Juwan Howard, University of Michigan. What a controversy. It has got everybody talking across the country. Fletcher, let's lay out real quick what happened out there.
So the University of Michigan played Wisconsin University in basketball, and Michigan got beat. That's like the sports side. Michigan lost to number 15 Wisconsin, 77-63. Near the end of the game, Juwan Howard kind of broke coaching rules. He decided to keep pressing Wisconsin even though he was down big with not much time left. Wisconsin had put their backups and walk-on players on, so players who typically don't play as much, so they don't really handle full-court presses as often. And the press was having some effect on the players who were very clearly lost. So Wisconsin Greg Gard called 2 timeouts in the final minute to get his players unrattled so they can bring the ball up the court and then run off the clock. And in basketball coaching, in basketball world, it's kind of a jerk move to call a timeout when the game's almost over because it's kind of seen as rubbing someone's face in it to like make them look longer at the scoreboard and look at everyone else being dejected, or if it's an away game, everyone else being excited, no matter what the reason is. I know Michigan State has a tradition where like they call a timeout in the last home game so the players can come off and kiss the court, and a lot of coaches seem to not like it very much. But hey, my feeling about that is if you don't like it, then maybe make the game close so like they don't have to call those timeouts late. If you really don't like that, play better basketball. Like that's on you as an entire program. So this is the part where I'm kind of like, I don't really care about this stuff. I start to care when it's a handshake line. Juwan Howard is visibly upset. He pulls his mask to the side. He says as he's walking in the handshake line to Coach Greg Gard, "I'll remember this," and tries to walk by him. Greg Gard does not like that and physically stops Juwan Howard, grabbing his arm to say something to him. Juwan takes umbrage to that, puts his hand on Greg Gard's chest, appears to maybe grab his jacket a bit before he lets go to like say something to him. This is when the players empty their benches to be like, yo, everyone relax, relax, relax. So tensions kind of died down a bit. People were still woofing at each other. That's when former Wisconsin basketball player, current assistant coach Joe Krabenhoff, lunges towards Juwan Howard to try to say something to him. 2 of Michigan's players get in the way between Krabenhoff and Howard, and Krabenhoff proceeds to push those 2 players out of the way to say something. Juwan does not like that, steps back up, and appears to palm the side of Krabenhoff's head. I say palm because to me a hit is a closed hand action and a slap is more of an action you do to someone's face. He put his hand on the side of his head and then kind of pushed it out of the way. That's when people started throwing blows. Unfortunately, 2 players from Michigan were seen throwing punches and 1 for Wisconsin was seen throwing punches. So throwing a punch at all is automatically a suspension. Like you're done. Like there's no, unless someone has like a gun on the court or something and you're trying to like disarm them, you throw a punch, you're probably going to be missing some time. And yeah, that's what everyone saw. Unfortunately, the media seemed to not get all of the finite details of that situation and just framed it as Juwan Howard threw a punch because he was mad about timeouts, which was not the case at all.
Yeah, because a lot of people are already calling for his job, at least for him to be suspended for the whole season. Other folks saying, you know, this isn't a good example to young people, that a Michigan coach should act better, that sort of thing. Now, I kind of am crying me a river about that because, you know, and some won't like to hear this, but I understand that these are big colleges, big business. I believe that amateur sportiness of college basketball died before I was born. Okay. So like, I'm cynical around that.
So I've, as everyone has heard me say multiple times, I play sports. I've played sports at a pretty high level. I've had coaches, and one thing I want to see, especially when stuff's getting really gritty between teams, is I would like to see someone stand up for me. I'm not saying what Juwan Howard did was great. No, you cannot be palming the sides of people's heads, taking swings at people. You cannot do that. Like outside of the court, that's assault. That's someone will come up to you and be like, "Hey, here's a ticket for that. Go talk to an officer." But as a player, if I'm sticking up for my coach and someone comes up to me and shoves me back or tries to get in my face to say something or gets a little testy, I would like a coach who's going to be like, yo, don't talk to my players like that. These are my players. Do not put your hands on my players. Like, yes, of course, obviously we're all upset, but it'll be a reminder in the back of my head that this coach actually cares about me. This coach has my back. I'll run through a wall for him. Clearly he cares. Clearly he cares about me enough to take a swing at someone else. I will run through a brick wall for this coach. Definitely. If you see a coach that has that happen, I've had teammates, for example, who have gotten into skirmishes and I've had their back, not to where I'm throwing punches, but I'm like, yo, everyone relax, get away from our guy. Don't touch our guy. This is our player. We'll handle it we'll handle it our own way. Do not come over here. Go away. I've had situations where like I've jumped into like had skirmishes arguing with people and I have teammates who are like, well, not my problem. And they walk away. I remember that. I get away from those teammates because clearly they're not there to have my back. They're there for themselves, and that's totally fine. But if we're trying to build a team, I don't need that type of person around me. So to have like a unit of people who are like, I have my teammates back, maybe don't leave the benches because that's also an automatic suspension. But to be there and say, you know what, I'll risk this to make sure that my guy is okay, I'm okay with that. I'm not okay with what happened as a direct result. I'm not okay with the swipe. I'm not okay with the brawl, the mini brawl, I guess, that happened because basketball players don't really fight. I'd be okay if I was a player saying, you know what, my coach had my back. And if they were to fire someone who had their players' backs, in my opinion, it's showing they don't actually care about the players. They care more about the national media mark that would be settling in Ann Arbor, Michigan, which I think is a great disservice to the players who are on that roster.
Well, the other side of that might be if they want to already get rid of Juwan, there's a pretext. I have seen schools and employers back people up that have done absurd things way worse than this because that's their guy. I feel like if they wanted to let Juwan go, this is all about having an excuse to let him go.
Oh, definitely. From the business side of stuff, if they were having a much better season, if they were ranked 4th or 5th or 10th or even nationally ranked, they'd be like, well, 2-game, 3-game suspension, on your way. But the fact that they are kind of sputtering after having such a great season last year, I feel like they're a little bit less forgiving, especially when they have this essentially the same talent they had as last year. Whereas now people are really trying to like build gallows for this head coach.
Dick Vitale mentioned something I thought was interesting. Do we need to get rid of the handshake line?
No, I don't think they do. I do think at times it's a little bit, especially after a really testy game, maybe you don't need it. Like in a game where like people are about to come to blows, people are getting each other's faces, mocking each other, big rivalry games. I can think of for a perfect example. Marshall Henderson used to play basketball for Ole Miss. He was essentially an a-hole. I loved him because of his personality because he did not care at all. If media said something about him, he would do something. But there was one game he was playing against the Florida Gators, and he hit a game-winning shot, and he went to the Gator fans and did the Gator chant in front of them, the Gator chomp in front of all the fans to have them boo. That game, maybe don't have a handshake line. Maybe don't do that there because something bad's going to happen.
But practically, how do you determine that on the fly, right? Like, I see the idea that, well, if we just take it out, then we don't have to worry about this problem anymore. And it kind of gets rid of this whole sheen, because there's this sheen. This is about developing young men. And so I kind of see Dick's point on that.
Well, I mean, if you are still trying to uphold that it is about the values and building better men and, sportsmanship, you can't take out the one sportsmanship thing. I understand we have technical fouls for taunting. We have these other things for taunting to uphold sportsmanship, but that's going to happen because people just chirp. But the one core value, the one glimmering, shimmering thing that points to sportsmanship is after the game is over, you shake your opponent's hand. No matter what the sport is, it's always taught. Basketball, soccer, tennis, football, hockey, whatever, you shake your opponent's hand. So if you take that out, you're essentially saying this is not about sportsmanship. It's about what happens on the court. When it's over, we're done. And I don't think that's a good look if you're really trying to say it's about sportsmanship. Frankly, I don't have a problem with the handshake line. I've been in many handshake lines. I'm sure some listeners have as well. I've had games where stuff got testy. I went for a handshake. I've had people literally insult me and pull their hand away. You know what I did after that? I walked forward and shook the next person's hand because I'm not a child. If someone doesn't want to shake my hand, then okay, they don't want to shake my hand. I'm not mad about it. Maybe they have some reason for it. Maybe I don't understand the reason, but whatever. That's just whatever. The whole situation started because Greg Gard felt offended that he didn't get a handshake from somebody and he wanted to stop them and make a point. And unfortunately, he chose someone from Chicago who does not give an F about any of that. I feel bad this whole situation played out the way that it played out, but maybe you don't act like a child when someone's want to shake your hand. He had a very good reason in his opinion. Okay, leave it at that. Shake the next person's hand. That's it. The whole situation would not have exploded if he just had not put his hand on someone and just walked by them. Yes, Juwan is at fault for taking a swing at someone. This whole situation started, people seem to forget that because Greg Gard felt slighted by not getting a handshake and wanted to stop someone and make a point of doing so. And in doing that, he made the situation way worse. Probably what the thing would have been is both coaches are mad about what happened. We're done. As opposed to that, he tried to physically stop somebody who's much bigger than him, mind you, much bigger than him, and it created a fracas. So I'm not saying they share equal responsibility in this, but it's a lot closer than people are making it out to be. And I really wish they'd stop overlooking it because of who Juwan Howard is.
Before we move on to the next topic, what do you think should be the punishments handed out?
I really hope it's a 2 to 3 game suspension. I really do. Maybe 4. I'm even saying that I kind of feel weird about saying it because there have been coaches in college sports who've literally either directly killed somebody or led to someone dying. In football, Brian Kelly, his horrible decision-making led to a student plummeting to its death during a practice for Notre Dame. He had a kid go up there during some very dangerous weather conditions. The kid fell to his death because of Brian Kelly. Brian Kelly faced no criminal charges, did not miss any time coaching. Jim Boeheim, head coach of Syracuse Orange basketball, the zone master, off court, was driving, tried to go around a car, hit a pedestrian, and killed said pedestrian. They ruled it an accident. He faced no criminal charges. He coached against Duke the following night. So I feel like if they're not getting punished for these things, which are like much worse, killing someone, no matter what the thing is, much worse than taking a swat at somebody. If they're not being charged for this, I feel like I don't think it's necessarily fair for Juwan to get a harsh penalty. If he's going to get some penalty, that should be fair. I'll admit he should get something. He shouldn't be able to just walk away scot-free. But like, if they come out and it's like suspended the rest of the season or fired, or that's not right. That's I know life's not fair, but like that's 100% not right in my book.
All right, let's get into Detroit City FC. The Le Rouge season starts in mere weeks. It's hard to believe. One signing we did not cover last week. It happened after we recorded the show. Barnabas Bosch Tanyi is coming back to DCFC. He spent most of 2021 as part of the city's U23 squad. He is Hungarian, and, he's somebody that I haven't heard a ton about, Fletcher, so can you fill me in?
Yeah, he and his brother, Benedict, played at Grosse Ile High School, and they were like monsters on the field. They were coached by former DCFC player, and current DCFC youth coach, John Evans. They won 2 state titles with Tanyi on the pitch. He was named Mr. Soccer for the state of Michigan, and soon after, unlike his brother, he declared to be a professional player and said, I'm going to go play pro. I'm not going to college. Signed with DCFC's NISA roster. And unless you followed them in the Midwest Premier League for the U23 team, you did not hear his name very much because he did not play very much for the adult team. So his signing is more of a signing for the future. Yes, he will feature some games maybe for the USLC side, but he'll be more of a USL Academy youth player, which is fine. That's totally fine. It'll give him some chance to develop. I think he can be a really quality player the next few years, but right now I think his work rate for the team will be a little bit minimum. I could be wrong. He could have improved a little bit the time that he spent away from the club last year. I'll just wait to see if I'm wrong in that regard.
Yeah, looking to the future. Soon we're going to know more about this roster. I am excited about those conversations in the next couple of weeks. Now, there is an Academy Cup coming up.
DCFC, because they're no longer part of the Midwestern Premier League, their U23 team is folding to give birth to the U13, U15, and U19 for boys and girls, which is great. It allowed them to compete against other USL clubs in their respective divisions. Teams like Hartford Athletic having a team, Louisville City, you have Charlotte Independence, Tampa Bay United, Chattanooga Red Wolves, AC Connecticut, Queensboro FC, Real Colorado, North Carolina FC, Tampa Bay United. It's just you have a bunch of clubs who have youth teams who you get to get out there and see the kids and see the stars of tomorrow. These are typically the kids who are at an accelerated pace. The ones who play really well consistently, you'll probably see for the adult teams. But right now, it's really more about just getting them better. And that's one of the perks of moving to the USL ladder as opposed to staying in the more independent one, is you have a streamlined ladder of getting your players from one club to the other. Whereas when playing with NISA and then playing with Midwest Premier or some other club like that, it's a bit more of a harder time registering players in between. But when you're all in the same ladder, register your player for one team, he's eligible for another team, eligible for another team. You can just move him up the ladder playing. Don't have to switch the jersey at all either. You can just keep the same number, move up and down, and you'll get to watch kids grow in real time, which I think is one of the better parts of this whole ladder system.
We did have a preseason closed door friendly with Indy 11. That makes a lot of sense because Coach James has roots with Indy 11. So to me, it makes perfect sense why we had that closed door with them. Anything that you were able to garner out of the 1-1 tie? I know it was not something that was streamed online.
The team looked pretty good against a solid Indy 11 team. Indy 11 used to be a bit better when they had Trevor James as the coach. They're never necessarily a horrible team, but they were never like the cream of the crop. They had a few years where they were near the top, a few years where they were near the bottom, but most of the years are right around the middle. For your first friendly, especially with a team that has really only 11 or 12 signed players and a bunch of trialists, it's really good to go out there and get a 1-1 draw, especially when you take the lead early. Took the lead in a very unusual way. A free kick from Connor Rutz, who honestly, and no disrespect to Connor, did not know he could do that. I got to see a little clip of the free kick he took, and it was a well-struck free kick. Nothing the keeper could have done. Well struck, just left him out to dry. Hopino looked pretty decent up top. There is unfortunately one clip of him getting crossed up by the keeper for Indy 11. He ran for the ball. The keeper pulled it back and made him stumble, which is not awesome. But hey, you want to see people pressuring, and that's what he brings, is pressure from the offensive position. So that's very helpful. The wings seem to handle the pressure well from Indy 11. And just, yeah, you want to have a solid outing against a solid team, and that's exactly what happened. So the takeaway from that is all positive because people are expecting DCFC to be an expansion side, which means they're expecting to be horrible. And getting a draw against a quality side, albeit not one of the best teams, but also not one of the worst, is a good way to show that you are on your way of being solid. Things could have been very much worse. It could have been like the expansion side in the MLS, Charlotte FC, who got drubbed by Columbus Crew and then proceeded to try to fight the Crew players afterwards. So we had a much better friendly to start than other teams.
All right, and finally, Fletcher, we had some fun, and this is something that actually happened. You went ahead and did the crossbar challenge, and people can see the video on social media. You can, in fact, hit the crossbar, and that means that we're giving away a pair of season tickets. I mean, first off, man, like how did it feel to hit that thing?
Painful for a few reasons. Because I am media, I can say this. I took a few warm-up kicks, just a few, and did not really realize how poor condition my knee was in.
Oh, man.
But, that's why at the end of the video, after I hit the crossbar, I fell backwards. Part of it was relief, but part of it was like, oh my God, I want to get off my feet now. I am so tired. My legs hurt so much. As I said on Twitter, not to get all Van Gogh, but, for the fans, I'll cut my right ear.
Well, I appreciate that. So here's the deal. This pair of tickets, you can enter at dailydetroit.com/windcfc. That's dailydetroit.com/windcfc. And we will be announcing the winner on March 8th. I'm excited. We've already got people entered. Make sure you get yourself in there because a pair of tickets, I mean, it's a great value anyway, but why not get them? Why not get them for free? And we're not asking for anything. You don't have to give up any additional info. Yes, we ask you if you want to sign up for the newsletter, but you don't get an extra entry if you do. It's just like, hey, we want to do this for the fans. We want to see you out there. We're going to be covering every home game, and we'd love to see you at every home game.
Especially when I put my body on the line for the fans, I would hope that they'd actually appreciate it, to at least sign up and try to win it. If not, I understand entirely, but like, hey man, I'm giving my body. You can at least give us a few clicks.
All right, thank you so much for listening to Your Daily Detroit, where we give you what to know and where to go in Southeast Michigan. I'm Jer Stays.
And I'm Fletcher Sharpe.
Take care of each other, and we'll see you around Detroit. Tell a friend about Daily Detroit. It is the blessed place to get your news.